name is Donna DeLoretto Brennan, and I'm going to be reading a short story called The Whole Truth. The story was published in the Greater Lehigh Valley Writing Group's Anthology, and the theme that year was Rewriting the Past. Here's the story. I just got off the phone with 911. They wanted me to stay on the line until the police arrive, but my ears are still ringing from the blast, and I need to get my story straight before anyone gets here. So I hung up. The phone in my hand vibrates. It's 911. Call me back. I placed the phone on the nightstand next to the gun Gordy had bought for protection. Okay, here's what happened. Gordon was taking meth. At least, I think it was meth. He's never abusive except when he's jacked up on meth. He was starting to crash down, was craving more drugs. I told him there wasn't any more. I didn't tell him I'd flushed his stash down the toilet. He said if there weren't any more drugs, to give him money so he could buy more. He wanted me to call his dealer, Jeremy. I hate that jerk and want his poisonous gun to my Gordy. So I said I didn't have any money. Gordy didn't believe me. He started pushing me around hard. I bumped into furniture and fell over a few times. That's why the dining room table's turned over and everything's a mess. I tried to run out the front door, but Gordy grabbed me and dragged me back into the apartment, leaving the front door open. He threw me toward the sofa, but I fell on the coffee table, smashing it into 3 pieces and breaking my arm. At least, I'm pretty sure it's broken. I got up and ran into the bedroom, screaming at him to stop. I locked the door to keep him out, but when he's high on meth, it's like he has super strength, and he crashed through the door. He thought I was hiding money in my bra. Seriously, who does that? And he started tugging at my shirt, trying to get it off me. But I was hurting my broken arm, so I pulled away and my shirt ripped. I yelled at him for that. But he said if I didn't give him the money, he'd kill me. He had a crazy look in his eyes. I thought he was going to follow through on his threat. Gordy kept a gun in the bottom drawer of the nightstand. He was always afraid someone would break in and steal his stash. But now, with my life in danger, I yanked that drawer open and pulled out the gun. It was heavy, but I held it with 2 hands and pointed it at him. I was only trying to scare him. And my left arm was in so much pain, it was hard to hold that thing. I thought the sight of the weapon would get through to him, that would make him stop. It just made him angrier. He was like a madman. He raised his hand, screamed, and came running at me. I didn't realize I had pulled the trigger, even as the sound blasted in my ears, and I saw him stop and crumple to the ground. As he lay there, he twitched once or twice and then stopped. That's when I realized what I had done. I had called 911. It was self-defense. The phone is still vibrating. I can barely hear it buzz as it shakes on the nightstand, dancing closer to the gun. I try to ignore both the phone and the ringing in my ears as I stare at Gordy's limp body. He didn't mean it. It was the drugs. He was only like that when he was on meth. And now the police and the newspapers and everybody were going to think he was a druggie. Okay. Here's what happened. Gordon wasn't home. He only recently bought the meth, but had never actually used it. Someone must have found out about it and thought he might still have some in the apartment. Gordy's dealer, Jeremy, must have been the one who told this lowlife about the meth and he gave him our address. So this guy busted into the apartment wearing a mask so I couldn't see his face. He demanded I give him the meth. I told him I didn't know where it was. He didn't believe me. He shoved me around, messing up the place, breaking the furniture and my arm. In the middle of all this, Gordy walked to the front door, saw what was going on, and rushed to save me. He started fighting with this guy. I was certain this creep would kill us both, so I screamed and ran to the bedroom for the gun. The creep followed me in there. I opened the drawer, grabbed the gun, aimed it at him, and shot. But he ducked, and I got Gordy instead. The guy ran out of the apartment, and I called 911. It was an accident. That doesn't explain why Gordy would have drugs in his system. And can they tell if he's been using for a while? I don't think the screams in that story lined up with what the neighbors might have heard. And I forgot to explain the broken bedroom door. My left arm is throbbing just above the wrist. I can see a bump under my skin where one piece of bone is sticking up where it doesn't belong. The phone continues to buzz, so I shove it under the pillow in the bed with my right hand. I hear the police sirens outside. They'll be here any minute. Could I be charged with involuntary manslaughter? Okay. Here's what happened. Gordon had only used drugs a few times, and tonight was one of those times. He was coming down from his high and went into the bedroom to sleep it off. Right after Gordon flopped down in his bed, this huge guy wearing a ski mask busted through the front door demanding drugs and cash. It sounded like it might be Jeremy's voice. Jeremy is the guy who supplied Gordon with the drugs. The giant pushed me around, knocked things over, broke my arm, ripped my shirt, smashed the coffee table, and I ran into the bedroom, yelling Gordy's name. I locked the door, but the guy crashed right through it, waking Gordy up. They started fighting, and I went for the gun. But the big creep knocked Gordy to the ground and grabbed the gun from me. He whacked me over the head, which caused me to fall down in the bed. I think I might have blacked out for a few seconds. When I opened my eyes, I saw Gordy running at him, screaming. The guy was sitting right next to me on the bed, and he shot Gordy. I saw Gordy drop mid-stride and fall to the ground. It was awful. I was scared for my life, so I pretended to still be unconscious. I felt him place the gun in my hand, and I heard him run out the door. When I was sure he was gone, I called 911. It was a homicide, and he tried to frame me. But that won't explain the gunshot pattern in my hands. And how would I know what Jeremy's voice sounds like? And the front door is open, but it's definitely not busted. I hear someone calling my name from the front door. They claim they're the police. The voices get louder as they approach the bedroom. I'm sitting on the side of the bed, holding my left arm and rocking back and forth. It's about time you got here. Okay. Here's what really happened. Gordon used to smoke pot every now and then, but never did anything stronger. Maybe coke once or twice. He told me about this guy in the neighborhood, Jeremy, the one who had supplied Gordy with the pot and the coke, talking up meth. Jeremy said it was only addictive if you used it too often, but not if you just take it a few times. So Gordy decided to give it a try. It was only the second time he had ever used it. It made him feel so awful that when he started to crash, he asked me to flush the rest down the toilet before he took any more. He said it was addictive and that Jeremy must have known that and wanted to get him hooked. And then he went into the bedroom to try and sleep it off. That's when this huge masked guy broke in. Well, he didn't break down the door. He knocked, and when I opened the door, he pushed me inside and asked where Gordo was. That's what he called him, Gordo. I told him Gordy wasn't home. So this bruiser started shoving me around, demanding money and drugs. I ran into the bedroom and locked the door behind me. I shook Gordy, screaming at him to wake up. The thug broke down the door, grabbed my shirt, and yanked me away from Gordy so hard and fast he tore my blouse. That's when Gordy woke up and started fighting this creep. The mask came partly off, and Gordy yelled at the guy. Gordy called the guy Jeremy. He asked him why he was doing this. The guy didn't answer, just took another swing at Gordy. That's when I grabbed the gun from the bottom drawer. Gordy screamed. I think the creep was hurting him somehow. I took aim. I thought I had a good shot, even with my broken arm, and fired. The guy must have seen me take an aim and shove Gordy in front of him. Then Gordy fell to the ground. It was awful. I called 911. It was an accident, but the thug who broke in was at fault. The police should look for a big guy named Jeremy. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my story.